Thank you to the wonderful voice who introduces me. I'm Radio Red and I'm here and it's Monday and where else would I be? My favorite place to be because I get to talk to interesting creative people. A lot of the people who come on my show don't realize they are creatives. And when I talk to them, I say, hey, do you have a handbook that tells you how to dress, how to talk, how to walk? Maybe they do, but they didn't realize it. We're all figuring it out. So that's what we talk about here on Cool Conversations with Creatives. I have three wonderful guests today. But before we introduce the guests, I want you all to do me a big favor. We talked about this. Put your hand up in the shape of the letter L, please. Everybody behaves so well. And on the count of three, join me in saying hello, LLL, just like that. One, two, three. Hello,
Hello,
L,
L,
L, L. Jordan, my engineer, Jordan Henson, mark them down. They are tied for first place with about three other groups of guests, but I think they are heading up into the elite version of the LLL because it was so well timed. Meghan and Tracy, and I'm really, really blown away here. LLL is lovely, lanky Laura Legs, our most loyal listener. She's in Whitestone, New York. James, I've been trying to get her to move to a place starts with L for years, and she just refuses. So she's from W, from Whitestone. I met her in a dance class years ago. I wasn't teaching it, I was taking it, and we became friends. It's been about 15, 20 years. I've only seen her about 5 times in my life, and she listens every Monday when she can. And at 6:01 p.m., Meghan, she's going to write me a little report on what you said and what Tracy said and what James said. So there. And before I do a full introduction to my guests, we have a couple of birthday shout outs, famous ones, and then we'll go ahead. Today is July 7th. It is the 188th day of 2025 in the Gregorian calendar because Julian skipped a couple days in October and Gregorian said, I'm going to fix it. We'll do a leap year every fourth year and add a year, a day. Did you know that, James? That's
I
why
did not know that.
That's why Pope Gregory is so important. 177 days left. It's the 27th Monday, and I'm the only one who cares about that. July 7th is the sixth most common birthday date in the United States, according to a website called The Bump and a website called Parents, with an average of 12,108 births. I don't know what years they're talking about, but that's the date. So today, just a couple of birthdays. Ringo Starr, come on, the drummer from the Beatles, drummer, musician, actor, singer, member of the Beatles until their breakup. He sang vocals on Yellow Submarine and with a little help from my friends, and he's 85 today. Ringo Starr, we send you thanks for wonderful music. Doc Severinsen is 98 years old.
Oh,
He
God
was
bless.
the band leader on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson on NBC, and he's a jazz trumpeter. Joe Spano is 79. We got really up there. He played Tobias Fornell on NCIS, if anybody saw that. The comedian Jim Gaffigan, you all know him. He's an Emmy-winning stand-up, deadpan delivery, his jokes about food, and the voice of easily offended listeners, and his memoir is called Dad is Fat. We won't go there. And if anybody is a fan of Criminal Minds, the young lady who plays Penelope Garcia, it's Kirsten Vangsness, and she is all of 53 years old today. So now I'm going to officially, anybody follow all of those stars? Meghan, do you follow any of those stars?
Yeah,
You know
I
who
do.
Ringo Starr is, though, right?
Sure.
Okay, good. We got that. There we go. Okay, my drums are in the other room. So now I would like to do my introduction, and I hope you enjoy it. When I call your name, just wave hello. So here we go. Welcome to Cool Conversations with Creatives on our radiant stage, where sparks of insight meet the muses we engage. AKA Radio Red on her Scarlett mic so bright hosts the Canvas of Creativity. My guess, you know who you are. I named that after one of you. The Canvas of Creativity in our live streaming flight. Today, she honors creatives who are stylish, brave, and true. People whose passions inspire all they do. Meghan J.M. Caughey, wave hello. James M. Porfido, Esquire, wave hello. Tracy Latz, MD. They're gathering round, sharing experiences and wisdom where creativity is found. Now, here come my individual intros for each of you. Meghan, through rocky trails and strings in hand, young Meghan sought life's plan. With cello, bow, and paints in tow, she wandered where hope began. A college storm brought shadows near, schizophrenia's long tide, but art became her sacred path where healing would reside. Meghan found her light, became a voice for mental health reform with her book Mudflower, told her tale through beauty past the storm. A teacher, artist, advocate in Eugene, Oregon, where I used to live, she now thrives with sweet dog Meta by her side, where loving kindness drives. Art is the highest hope, Meghan says. Her truth, her soul's great height. She now crafts art from the edge of the bridge where bold hues meet the light. Meghan, did you enjoy that?
That was amazing.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Come closer. We need to hear you a little louder. You're a little
That
bit
was
soft.
amazing. That was amazing. I'm touched. Thank you.
I'm glad. You're very welcome. I'll tell you who helped me write that. Now we go to James. From Jersey roots and one of six, James dreamed of legal might. A scholar sharp from Seton Hall, he fought for what was right. A courtroom voice for victims' cause, his passion ran so deep, he changed the law when tragedy brought justice back from sleep. He spoke to students far and wide, 75,000 strong, with truth about the wheel and drink, what's right, what could go wrong. A super lawyer, fierce and wise, defense became James' stage. From O.J.'s tale to Weinstein's fall, James has weighed in on the page. Now of counsel, wisdom flows where justice still demands. James stands for truth with steady heart and bold, unwavering hands.
Wow, that was impressive and awesome.
I'm glad. I'm glad. That's the point. I'm very
That was
glad.
great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And Tracy was on before, and I met her at the summit, Plymouth Summit. She said, I got to come back, and here you are. So, from Chapel Hill to country roads, young Tracy walked a dual world where science met the silent woods and inner knowing swirled. Her father healed with house call care, her mom with vision wide. Their influence stirred questions deep that danced and grew inside. Tracy studied cells and energy, psychiatry and light, then wove it all in books and art that helped folks feel what's right. A teacher, a seer, a scientist, she merges mind and muse, transforming lives through joyful shifts and soul-connected hues. From sacred woods to canvas wild, Tracy lets her spirit play and guides people to their truest self, the Latz talk loving way.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
I'm glad. You're welcome. So let me close this and then we'll go on. So gather round where the cool vibes sway as we dive deep into creativity today. akaRadioRed's mic lights the way. We hope to inspire you to live large, love life, and play. So what'd you all think? Meghan, are we good?
We're very good. Thank you.
I'm glad you're welcome. My co-writer is Sylvie. I'll tell you who she is after, and I send her the bios, and she comes back with the draft. And then I go line by line against your bio, and I tell her what I liked or didn't like, or I just redo some of the rhymes. And sometimes she leaves out some facts, and I come back and I say, no, we've got to put this in for Meghan. We've got to put this in for Tracy, put this in for James, and then I finish it up. So it's a collaboration, and I'll introduce you to Sylvie later on in the show. So what I'd like to do now is I would like to have each of you tell us a little more about yourself, because 10 lines is not enough to tell all the details. We don't want everything, but why don't you take 2 or 3 minutes and give us a little more about who you are and your creativity. Meghan, I'm putting you on speaker view first. I'm so delighted you're here, and you can hold up your book and tell us a little more about who you are. Go ahead. Welcome, Meghan.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. This is my book, Mudflower. And the mudflower is a metaphor for the lotus. And it was life-changing for me when I found out that lotuses have to have their roots in the mud in order to thrive and bloom and be beautiful, because I was really struggling with being alive. And then I had a lot of pain in my life. I still have pain in my life, but it was like I didn't want to be here. And then when I found out that I could use that pain to fuel my lotus, that I could become a beautiful flower, it changed how I felt about the pain. So I wrote a book about that. And the subtitle to the book is Surviving Schizophrenia and Suicide Through Art. So I use art as a means to transform hard things. And I really believe in beauty and honesty. And I believe beauty and honesty go together. And No one expected me to thrive because I had a very dire diagnosis when I was very young. And my career didn't start until I was 50, but I was always painting and drawing. And now, with the current political, cultural, social, whatever environment that we're in, I'm even more focused on making art because that's how I survive. That's how I thrive. So I'm a very strong believer in creating things because that transforms the hard parts about being human. And being human is sometimes very hard. We know that. I think everyone on this show will vouch for it can be hard, but to have something as a means to transform and just create something beautiful from the hard things, that's what I'm about. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. That was lovely. Very touching. I've been painting for about 10 years now. I've got over 300 pieces, mostly canvases, watercolors, collages, all kinds of experiments with different types of things, with brushes, without brushes, acrylics. And sometimes I find if I need some quiet time to just get in touch with another part of me, I'll just go in my little art room, my studio, open the blinds, let the natural light in, and I'll just paint an hour or two. I'll do things I have no idea what I'm doing. And when they're done, I say, that was nice. I like that. That
Well,
speaks to
probably
me.
at a deeper level, you have a wisdom about what you're doing that
I think
informs
so. I
what you do.
think I think so. Thank you very much. I knew you would understand. I'll show you some of my stuff at another time. So thank you very much, Megan. It's wonderful to have you here. I'm so glad I met you at the summit. And
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
thank you. Lovely. Okay, James, you're up. Let's
All right,
go. Tell us a little more. Go ahead. No
there's a lot to
politics on
talk
my show.
about.
Remember, no politics. Go ahead.
No
Go ahead.
politics.
No
This
politics.
is my book, Unequal
Yes.
Justice, The Search for Truth to Balance the Scales. And the book really was the product of my years of experience. First, entering into law school, and I talk about it in the book, going through law school, that process, becoming a law clerk for a judge, and then, my voyage into the prosecutor's office and my ascension there to handling vehicular homicide, sex crimes, and child abuse, where I was the head prosecutor, and then, venturing into the world of being a defense attorney, and really all the detours along the way that I had in a really interesting career. I met a lot of interesting people, had a lot of really interesting cases on both sides, both as a prosecutor and as a defense attorney, and got the opportunity and still do I'm a legal analyst, and I'm a law professor, a certified criminal trial attorney. I'm of counsel with the firm right now. And, my career is kind of at a different stage. So I've tried to reinvent myself in a lot of ways. And, I'm not in the courtroom like I used to be every day. But I certainly have seen a difference from being a prosecutor to being a defense attorney. And that was really what the book was about, was the balancing of the scales and how it was unfairly tipped in favor of the prosecution. And I talk about that in many cases, in many situations, in high profile cases that I handled, and found that it was unfair. It was not a level playing field. And I discussed that. I didn't name anybody by name. I never mentioned a judge or a prosecutor or anyone or a client for that matter, either a victim when I was a prosecutor or a client who was a defendant or accused. No one was mentioned by name, but certainly the cases are memorable in a lot of ways. And that really was the product of, years and years of experience. And as I said, the book wrote itself. The people in the book wrote the book, not me. And the experiences that I went through, I just shared that.
Thank you very much. And by the way, you have fabulous glasses on today, James. I'm sorry. I'm visual.
Thank you.
Megan, you can understand that. I'm looking at his glasses saying, my God, where'd you get those? They're phenomenal. Are they prescription glasses?
They are magnifying glasses, actually. I need them to look at the computer screen. And I've been
Really?
wearing them more and more lately.
Oh.
I have very good vision, but unfortunately, the close-up work is a little bit tough.
We
Looking at the
understand.
computer, is tough.
I didn't mean to detract from all of the information
No, and I've got
you
a whole
said, but
bunch of them here. I can change off, as we go. I've got different ones.
let's wind them up and
You
see
know,
where we
I
I
can,
love it.
I honestly, I've got a whole collection of glasses that I cycle through them as I'm staring at the computer because whichever one works best, I go with.
Oh, I like those too. You know what? That's why I call my show Cool Conversations with
There you
Creatives.
go.
Who knew that you would have a whole wardrobe of glasses
I
if
got more.
even
Actually, I've got 3 more pair here.
during the show, you can change your glasses and we'll see if anybody notices besides
Okay.
me. There you go. Thank you very much for playing along.
Thank you.
No door prizes. Thank you very much. Tracy, welcome back. You're up next. You
Oh,
told me you'd have new stuff to talk about. So I'm putting you on speaker
sure.
view and that wonderful voice of yours. Tracy, give us a 2 minutes and catch us up with what you've been up to, please.
Well, James, I feel your pain. I wear glasses when I stare at the screen too long. I grew up, as you mentioned, in Eastern North Carolina and Middle North Carolina, sort of walking that line between loving animals, loving science, and being highly intuitive, feeling very connected, and really feeling that there was a communication at times that I thought everyone had and was sort of surprised that they didn't. And so learned to hide it when I was at Frank Porter Graham Elementary School in Chapel Hill. Uh, they sort of did pod classrooms at that time. And so it was a test they were doing, and they sort of let us work at our own speed. And there were about 6 of us that finished the whole school year with half a school year to go. So they didn't know what to do with us. So they started bringing in things. They brought in the parapsychology graduate students from Duke University. Unbeknownst to us, I was just like, cool, we're going to play cards. And it was the Psy cards. And I thought, well, this is cool. And they were like, oh, so I paired up with my best friend and they said, okay, she's going to look at a card, not show you, and she's going to think what the card is. And I was like, okay. And so I just start, she'd look at one and I'd say this, look at another, I'd say that, star, circle, waves, thought everyone. And later, all of a sudden, I noticed all the graduate students are gathering around. And I'm like, uh-oh, because I'd learned to zip up and hide. You don't want to be weird. And they said, how can you tell what she has? And I said, well, it's not me, it's her. She looks at the card. I said, I look at her and I see it draw out right on her forehead.
What? This is
And
true. This is true,
this
Tracy.
was true. This was true. And they were like, no, no one's seeing that but you. And I was like, zip up and, sort of get away, get away. That was sort of my MO, hide and run. So I did that all through my scientific training, my cell biology master's at Georgetown, and then going back to Wake Forest doing medical school, and thought, what am I going to do? I thought the only thing I knew I would never be is a psychiatrist or a surgeon. I don't like standing that long. And I kind of grew up around a lot of mental illness and thought, I don't want to do that. And then found I loved it, found I really connected because I understood that I had a lot of compassion. And I used that in my work and used my intuitive abilities that I then decided to go and sort of boost a bit. So I went to an ancient mystery school. I call it the adult Hogwarts after doing my training and practicing for a couple of years, and then began to also teach intuitive metaphysical classes while being an integrative psychiatrist. So I blend everything. I blend everything I do from energy medicine to intuitive art. I've done that working with people. I did the mystical world of intuitive art, intuitive art, connecting with spirit through intuitive art. And the book doesn't tell you how to do it, all you haters out there. What it does is it tells you what it can be used for and shows examples of all sorts of things from connecting. And it's done with the eyes closed. You meditate. This was doing connecting with Chaco Canyon, which is a place I love and felt like I sort of reclaimed a bit of myself. I left there, I think, lifetimes ago, and just to be quirky out there. But I
Thank
really
you.
do look at people in a different way. I see the beauty and the soul and the light in everybody
I
while
like that.
everyone walks through Earth School.
You remember the Dusty Springfield song, What the World Needs Now is
Is
love,
love,
sweet
sweet love.
love. That's the only thing that we
Then we
just
just do love.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Thank
What
you.
good spirits you all have. You're all such good souls. I don't have bad souls on this show, but it's just coming through. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for adding to your bios, and I'm glad you enjoyed my little intro poems. It's hard to take a life and condense it down to 10 lines. I've actually started to do it with my own bio for my children because they probably don't know half the stuff I've done in my life. And I'm preparing for end of life. No, nothing's happening, but I'm putting it into a folder that they will find. And maybe if anybody shows up at my funeral, they can read it and say, that's what mom did, because we're all spinning in our own spheres right now. So thank you very much. What I'd like to do is go next to the part of the show where I've asked you each to please send me a fictional character quote and the attribution, and you're going to relate the quote. And I'm going to read the quote. You don't have to go find it. I'm going to read it with a little
Okay.
background information. So Megan has sent a quote from a popular song by Cat Stevens. It first appeared in 1971 in the film Harold and Maude. And the name of the song, I'll read it in a second. Did you know, Megan, I guess you did, that Cat Stevens wrote all the songs in the movie in 1970 and 71 while he was writing and recording his Tea for the Tillerman album. However, this and two other songs from that period were not released as singles or on any album. The film had no official soundtrack at the time the film was released, and the songs were later released on his 1984 album. That was interesting. So here's the quote Megan picked. If you want to sing out, sing out. If you want to be free, be free. Megan, what a beautiful quote. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what this means to you? Go ahead.
Wow. So, I was just writing an essay about psychiatry and schizophrenia and the role of courage, because people often don't really understand that people who have been diagnosed and dealing with schizophrenia or other serious psychiatric illnesses have to have a lot of courage and a lot of drive to get through the system and to recover. And so people have been surprised that I was able to recover from schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder. And yeah, I do have some courage. I do. I've had to push through. And I love the movie Harold and Maude because it really questions, it poses a lot of questions about suicide. And I've struggled with suicidality much of my life. And at the end of the movie, they live, or the young man lives, who's Harold. And at the end of the movie, he's walking off playing his banjo after crashing his car down at the beach. And you know that he's going to make it. And so, if you want to sing out, sing out. That's creative. That's expressing yourself. That's power and creativity.
I
And
agree
that's
with
what I
you.
have faith in, I guess. I mean, it's like it
That's
works.
great. That's beautiful.
That's
That's it.
why I talk to people like all of you. This is
Great.
my verbal painting, my visual painting with all of you is talking about. You're all singing out. You're saying, Red, you told me I'm a creative. Let's talk about creativity. And sometimes we go deep. James, I can't wait to get to your creativity statements because I think I had to pull them out of you with a crowbar. I have a feeling, I think you're the one. It took a lot of work to get, but I got them out of you. But the point is that this is my creativity, Megan, is getting people to feel comfortable enough to talk about theirs. And I think this is what I do. What do you think, Megan?
Well, one thing, I'm on the faculty of a medical school. I'm on the psychiatry faculty. And Tracy, when you were talking, I was thinking, oh, wow, yes, psychiatry. So one of the things I do with the public psychiatry training program is I used to think, how am I going to get these psychiatry residents out of their boxes enough to make art? Because I thought they were going to be all closed up. But there's this activity I do called Art, Jive, and Mo, which is artists making art, jive is music, and Mo is motion or movement. So I did an Art Jive and Mo experience for the psychiatry residents. And I thought they were going to be all closed down. But when they started dancing, I saw a shoe go across the room in the air. And the woman was dancing so hard that her shoe flew off. And another psychiatrist, a little pudgy psychiatrist, was lying on the floor with his arm up in the air. And I had them drawing power animals. And his power animal was a seahorse growing an arm. It's like, it was brilliant. It's like they were so motivated. They were just ready to do it. So there's a lot to be said for psychiatry, especially nowadays.
Sing out and be free, right? If you want to sing, sing. You want to be, yes. Thank you. That was very, very interesting. All kinds of things come to the surface here. Thank you very much, Meghan. Love the quote. And let's go to James's quote. You've picked a classic, an iconic quote from Base Commander Colonel Nathan R. Jessup, played by who else? Jack Nicholson. The movie, of course, A Few Good Men, a 1992 legal drama written by Aaron Sorkin, directed by Rob Reiner. Does it get any more powerful than that? Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore, Kevin Bacon, Kevin Pollak, Cuba Gooding Jr., Kiefer Sutherland, and somebody named J.T. Walsh. Oh my goodness gracious. The movie, James, I don't know if you know it, but it had a $40 million budget. We're talking back in 1992. How many years ago is that? At 25, over 30 years ago? A $40 million budget, and it grossed $243 million. I think it was a success. Okay, here is the line you have picked. Everybody knows this. 5 words. I watched the movie clip. It is so powerful. You just have to watch it. I found the clip, and it was at 44 seconds into one of the clips I found. You can handle the truth. So let's talk about your creativity, not necessarily law cases, but what's your creativity have to do with this, James?
Wow. Geez, you know you had to pry that out of me. It was really tough.
I'm good at that.
I don't have a creative side like everyone else here on the panel.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
Tracy and Meghan. My creativeness is scholarly to some extent, or emotional. I mean, passion. My passion drives my creativity. I think the fact that I fight or advocate and did that for so many years. I think that is my creative force. I don't know that I create. That's always been my issue with the laws. It's not creative. It's almost destructive in a lot of ways. So I never developed the creative side.
Tracy?
I would suggest that your meaning you give for your life is creative. You're creating your life.
And the fact, I'm going to interject here, the fact that you said the cases and the people in the cases wrote the book for you. That's a creative channeling, James. And I wrote 3 romantic comedy plays, and I didn't write them. The characters told me what they were saying, what they looked like, who they were, where they were going, what they were doing. It just poured out. 3 nights, 1 to 4 in the morning, and the first play just wrote itself. So if you had all of this knowledge and all of these insights, and there was a point you wanted to make, you creatively, this is my opinion, you creatively channeled what your knowledge was into the creative aspect of balance. Isn't that your point?
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And really it was, I feel like a well-rounded version of that by looking at both sides and being able to evaluate, both sides of the scales of justice and looking at it from both the defense and the prosecution and saying, there's a comparison. I can definitely look at the one side and the other side now with a clear view and a vision and say one is definitely getting an advantage over the other, meaning the state or the prosecution, and that judges were allowing that. And it's probably taboo to say those things. It's probably not, something that judges would want to hear, but I think it needs to be heard. I think it's a message that needs to resonate with society that our system doesn't always treat everyone fairly when they're, charged with a crime.
Listen, I'm thinking of another quote you could have used for this. Carly Simon. Oh, not Carly. Who's that? I've looked at love from both sides now. Who was that? Was that Carly Simon?
That was
Both sides now. Was that
Joni Mitchell?
Joni Mitchell.
Joni
Right.
Mitchell.
I don't know why I thought it was
Joni
Carly Simon. I've
Mitchell,
looked at
yes.
love from both sides now. Yes. I think I was thinking of that. I've looked at life from both sides now. Yeah. So I was thinking that you could have said that. So you are creative, James. You wouldn't have written the book if you weren't. You created a tome of knowledge and of opinion that you're sharing with the world. That's your creativity. But oh, ladies, wait till you hear what I dragged out of him for his creativity statements. You're not even going to, he's going to have to change his glasses when we get to that because I'm telling you,
They're going to be steaming up, you
I
mean?
want some funky glasses there. Okay, thank you, James. Let's go to Tracy. Tracy, you sent a song, I'm sorry, a movie quote from Sam Phillips, played by the actor Dallas Roberts, to Johnny Cash, Walk the Line, 2005 American biographical drama film. Walk the Line is directed by James Mangold, blah, 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 blah. It's based on two but we usually don't do biopics, but it was such a good quote. We're going to do it. Here's a little backstory. After his discharge from the military in 1954, Johnny Cash returned to the U.S. and married his girlfriend, Vivian Liberto. They moved to Memphis, where Cash worked unsuccessfully as a door-to-door salesman to support his family. Can you believe that? James, he was a door-to-door salesman. One day,
Wow.
listen to this. Talk about creativity. Meghan, you're going to love this. One day, Johnny Cash walks past a recording studio, and all of a sudden, he's inspired to form a gospel band to play gospel music. They don't describe where that came from, where deep it came from. They auditioned for the owner of Sun Records named Sam Phillips. That's Sam in the movie here, played by Dallas Roberts. Sam signs them after they play the song. You ready? Folsom Prison Blues. That was their audition. And they toured as Johnny Cash and the Tennessee Two. And on the tour with them were new stars. You ready for this? Elvis Presley, Carl Perkins, Roy Orbison, Jerry Lee Lewis were on the tour with the newcomer named Johnny Cash.
Wow.
That's
Did not know that.
That's a lot of wow there. So Tracy, here's the line you picked. Would you sing something different, something real, something you felt? Because I'm telling you right now, that's the kind of song people want to hear. That's the kind of song that really saves people. Sam Phillips talking. So go ahead. Tracy, how'd you find this one? It's an interesting quote.
Well, I was trying to find something really that connected with tying everything together, and it just really felt right, bringing together inspiring people, having worked in the back wards of psychiatric hospitals, even in the depths of COVID, where no one could visit, not family, not friends, not guardians, nothing, and working on the forensic unit at times with that, and helping people find their own song within themselves when it was such a bleak time and they were so cut off, even more than the rest of us were. And I find that when you really connect with your own soul and you stop wondering what everyone else wants it to be, and you really connect with it and you stand in that and you move forward, the truth just really carries and it has a powerful magnetic resonance. And that line just seemed to really say it.
Standing in your truth.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're all talking about today, isn't it? Meghan,
Yeah.
you certainly are. And James, you are. And I'm here because this is my truth, is talking to all of you. And I find that very often there are unique perspectives on creativity because you didn't know each other before. And I didn't say, oh, Meghan's going to be great with Tracy and Tracy's going to be good with, I met you at the Publicity Summit and you just popped up in a room and I said, these are the dates, come get those dates. And you accepted the dates. But the point is we often find on these shows that there are commonalities, there are synchronicities, there are overlaps, there are common threads of feeling, of thinking, of believing, of sensing, of creativity. And Meghan, I named this episode in honor of you, The Canvas of Creativity. I guess you figured that out because I need a different title each week. I've been doing the show for years and I try to pick one guest's theme. I was going to call it The Canvases. And then I thought canvases sounds like somebody's going around with a clipboard doing canvassing a neighborhood, and I didn't want that. So I said the canvas of creativity. So that's how I'm tying you all together. But let's go on to the next part of the show, which is the creativity statements. I'm going to pick one or two from each of you. Meghan, I'm going to read yours first. I will read them. You don't need to what did I send you? Where did I put? Don't worry. I'm going to read it. This is not a pop quiz. Okay, here we go. So Meghan, I'm going to read two of yours that I really enjoyed. You gave me more information after the fact than I was querying you for more depth. And this is what I got, and I think I like this. You say, when I was in art school, I had a huge studio with an endless height and space. Since then, I've had smaller spaces, and I've had to sometimes compromise on how big I work, but it doesn't stop my work. And then you add, I always have multiple pieces I'm working on at once. So let's frame this, pun intended, on your art, Meghan. Tell us a little bit about, for inspiring people who are artists, how do you work on multiple pieces, and what do you have to do mentally, emotionally, artistically to take what you're used to, a great big canvas, and bring it down to a smaller size? You give us a little background, please, Meghan?
Well, first, I just want to respond to, you brought up synchronicity.
Yes, okay.
That made something go off in my mind,
Yeah.
because I think synchronicity is incredibly important. That there's a level, I mean, you're talking about creativity on this show, but there is a level that all of us in this room, this electronic room, we are synchronous. And that's a word, synchronous. But synchronicity is incredibly important. And, I would say that whether a canvas is big or small or what I'm doing is kind of beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have some huge stretch canvases in my garage I'm waiting to carry upstairs because they're so big that I can't carry them by myself. But making art is it's a commitment,
Mm-hmm.
and we adapt to what we can do. And yet at the same time, I've waited to get these big canvases. I've been living in Eugene for nearly a couple of years now, less about a year and a half. And I haven't been able to work as large as I like to work. But, you referred to when I was in graduate school and art school,
Mm-hmm.
I would have the whole wall. I would have a huge, and that was wonderful. But art must be made. And I'm not going to let size or
Mm-hmm.
anything stand in my way because it's so important.
Yep.
So I don't know if I'm really responding to what you said, but
That's okay.
um,
How do you work on multiple pieces at once? I'm curious about that.
how can you not?
Okay.
Because I one till it comes to need to stop or pause, and I move to the next one. I need to keep creating art. But I mean, it's creating is it engenders more creating. So starting on one canvas, then it's like very natural to go to another one when one reaches a natural pause.
Yep. Pause is a good word.
Yeah, this is the creative process for me. But I
Mm-hmm.
think for a lot of people, and it's like if I were just going to work on one canvas, that would be so tight, and
Limiting.
it would be limiting. But
I will
I
tell you that once in a while, instead of starting a new canvas, I'll look back over my work over the past few years, and I'll say, is there something I don't like or I'm not happy with, or I could have done more, different, better on it? And I'm not judging or grading myself. And I found a little 12 by 16 piece the other day that I just said, it's a little mediocre. I don't know what I was thinking. And I washed over it, Meghan, with white pouring acrylic paint, just with a brush. I just coated it. And then I just let it dry. And shapes appeared from the original painting underneath. And I let it dry, and I put it on my kitchen table. And my neighbors who helped me find this house years ago came over, and we were talking about something. And I said, Nancy, you're sitting on one of my paintings. It was on the chair. I put it on, it was okay. I put it on the table, and I said, take a look. And they started seeing things and people emerging from the shapes underneath that were never there. It was like there were shapes of heads and people that I never painted. You understand that, Meghan, right? You know what I'm saying?
totally there is I believe that there's a level of reality that engenders us to express it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that with the painting that you had done, that the shapes came out of, you finally stepped back
And
and
saw
got
them.
away while
Yes.
the process
You're right.
expressed.
You're right.
And
And
that's
I'll
wisdom. That's wisdom.
and I'll tell you toward the end, I was living in Eugene, Oregon, and toward the end of the pandemic, we hoped. I did a paint pouring piece. I had a huge kitchen counter and it was right across from the sink, and I just laid things on it and I was able to paint there. Great light, big space. And I poured the paint and I tilted everything and I stepped back. And all of a sudden I saw people dancing on a Broadway stage, walking across the stage dancing. I didn't put them there. That's how the paint ran. That's how the shapes. And I said to myself, that means the pandemic is starting to quiet down. That was a sign to me, that painting. Anyway, we could talk about art all day. I want to move on, but Meghan, thank you very much. Your insights are so insightful. I'm gonna say that. So insightful. I want to make sure we get everybody's in here. James, is everybody ready for these interesting? Now, I had to work with James because he said I'm not creative, and I did this. He's still James, did you change your glasses? You got funky
Oh,
glasses.
no, you want me to change them?
I
Let's
want you.
change
Come
them.
on, let's go theatrical here
There's
with
another
me.
one. Okay.
There
here.
Oh, fantastic. He's Rod Serling now. Here we go. Here's what James says. Ladies, you're not going to believe this. He says, I ride my bike because I am on the road and I can take in the sights and go for a ride and get lost in time. This was not easy for James to write. And the second thing he said was, I like to work out and listen to biohacking podcasts because it makes me healthier. And I can look at my body after all these years and saying I'm doing a good job staying in shape. And I'm never afraid to take my shirt off. I've never had a guest on the show in 20 years say anything like that.
I know. It sounds so vain too, doesn't it?
No, it sounds so sexy. I'm sorry. I've never had anybody go in that direction on the show. It's like, what? Third on James. It's not that, we're rated here. James, talk about this, the bike ride. Oh, and there's one more. One more. Let's leave those alone. This is the one I really wanted to read. I was so intrigued by these. James says, I love cooking Italian food because it connects. This is James talking, Meghan and Tracy. This is James the lawyer with the book on balancing. I love cooking Italian food because it connects me to my culture and my upbringing and reminds me of my grandmother, with whom I spent a lot of time, and she did a lot of cooking. I also learned from my mom, who's still with us and is 98, bravo, and is certainly a connection to my Italian culture and heritage. I thought you have no idea, Meghan and Tracy, how hard I had to work with James to pull these out of him. He didn't. It was like back and forth. Come on, James. And I said, "Do you ride? Do you walk? Do you run? Do you have a bike? Do you?" I'm literally sending him Mad Libs, and he finally sent me this. James, bravo, bravo. Thank you.
Thank you. You
James,
pulled it out of me, and obviously, what I said about my connection to my grandparents is relevant today because the movie Nanas
yes.
is
Notice,
big,
that's right.
It's all about that. It's all about, Vince Vaughn being Italian in his upbringing and connecting and starting this restaurant in Staten Island with the grandmothers cooking. So it like resonated. And that was long before I didn't even know that movie was coming out, by the way. That was just something that came to me. I do enjoy cooking, and I run marathons. I've done 13 so far, and hopefully I'll get to do 20. That's the plan. But
this is the real James Porfido who didn't want to tell us this.
Yeah,
He said, "You come on my show, we're going to dive deep there."
It's an
kid.
escape. It really is an escape.
Yes.
The riding and the running is really just an escape to get away from everything.
Isn't that wonderful that you acknowledge that you need and want the escape, that you acknowledge that you found something that works for you? Look at that. That's part of your creative side, James. In addition to, I have not asked you about the shirt, but changing your glasses. I've never had this on my, I'm getting very embarrassed here. Flummoxed
So
is
am
the
I.
word. No, I know. Oh, we'll have to take this offline. Tracy, rescue me. I'm going to go to your statement. Thank you, James. Statement number 3.
Thank
I
you.
like this. You say, I create whenever I'm in the moment. If I'm traveling, I love to create after being in an energetic area and capturing the energies in art. We would like to know a couple minutes more. Tracy, go ahead.
Okay.
Talk about it.
Well, again, feeling energies. And James, don't feel bad. The first time I was on, we went back and forth, and she was like, come on, come on. How do you create? So I feel it. I feel
Good.
it. But when you're in an area, you can feel things. I always have felt things, and I like to sense what I sense. But then what I like to do is let that energy flow out. Once you completely connect with it, let that flow out. So the energy of the space, much like Meghan was saying, it's like, what does it want you to know? What does the space want you to know? And what I'd asked in the art that had to do with Chaco Canyon was looking, just feeling the energy, eyes closed, and having no idea what's coming out in this, asking, what did the ancient ones, the Anasazi who lived here, what do they want us to know? And I love going to sacred sites of various kinds. This is my fun stuff that I do that's not the serious sabotage, letting go of stuff and things that I teach. This was visiting an old castle
Mm,
in England, and I just connected and I said, I just felt such scattered, bizarre energy here. And I just said, what is here? Show me what you want us to know. Again, done with eyes closed. And these things appear over time. Like you said, the figures just come forward.
they come forth. Yep.
It's done in pastel chalks. I was taught by a beautiful woman, Patricia Hayes, at that ancient mystery school, how to do the intuitive art. And she did this piece, which I love. She did a meditation, and she passed just in the last couple of months. So
Mm,
I really miss her. But she was the one who trained me, and she ended up saying when I helped her with promoting some of her work and some of her books and her husband's who had passed before her, she said, I want to repay you. What would you like? I said, well, one of your paintings. I love one of your paintings. I'll pay for it, but give me a good price. And she did. This one I loved because it was connecting with divine female. And what she did is she connected with the energy of the divine female and then just allowed it to flow through. This, though, was done in oil, which she hardly ever
beautiful.
did. When she trained us, it was done in pastel chalk, really hard, almost like charcoal, because then it really layers and comes through. And I love doing the art because it will change over time, and you can
Hmm.
ask a question and it will show up in one way and it'll be answering the question for today, but
Yep.
you can ask other questions. And
Another way.
one
Thank
person asked me, they had a sick cat and said, I don't know what's going on with your cat. You're a medical intuitive. Can you connect? I said, well, I'd rather you send me a picture of the cat with a good picture of its eyes. I don't need anything else, just its eyes. And I'll connect with its soul and ask. And what came out of that, like very quickly, what came out was fish swimming. And I go, what's up with your cat and fish? She goes, what do you mean? I said, your cat and fish. She goes, my cat's never had fish. And I just went, I said, your cat wants fish. How would it know about fish? I said, give your cat fish.
fish.
The vet was ready to write the cat off. She gave the cat fish. She says, I don't even know how to give it fish. And she goes, but I was going to eat salmon tonight. I said, great.
Give the
Give the
cat
cat half of it and go from there. And the cat made a complete recovery, and the
beautiful.
vet was just shocked. So.
Beautiful. I want to move on. Thank you. Meghan, I'd like you to tell us a bit about the painting behind you. We haven't paid attention to that. Can you just give us a brief overview of what we're looking at here?
Sure. This is oil on canvas, 30 by 40 inches.
Wow.
And it's a blue cello, yellow dog. You can't probably see the dog. The
Now
dog's
we
up.
can. Yep.
Oh,
There we
beautiful.
go.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
So when Tracy was talking, I was thinking about when I was first going to go to graduate school, before I went to art school, I was going to become an art therapist. And the first day of art therapy class, we learned to do these things called free drawings. And so a free drawing is where you just take the charcoal or whatever in your hand, and you don't plan what you're going to do. You just do what comes out.
Mhm.
And so that's the way I paint now. I I mean, I can relate to what you're talking about because the paintings paint themselves and express themselves. So I play cello, and sometimes I play the cello and sometimes I paint about it. and it happens to be blue. But I mean, it's just very important to have a dog, dogs and animals in my paintings. The last painting that I'm doing right now, one of the paintings I'm doing is many dogs. It's overwhelmed with dogs, but I mean, I have a service dog named Metta, Metta. That means
Mhm.
loving kindness in Buddhism.
Nice.
And she's a wonderful spirit. She's a Shih Tzu. And so I tend to put the essence of dogs and animals, especially sea mammals,
Into your
too,
paintings.
in my paintings. So if you go to my website, MeghanCaughey.com, no, Meghan Caughey, all one word.com, you can see a lot of sea mammals and dogs.
Thank you. Thank you. We have about 3 minutes left. I want to cram a couple of more things, and I am really enjoying this conversation. So, let me read you a poem. I belong to an online poetry group, and this was my acrostic. I love acrostics. I love limericks. I love disappearing nines. I love tricubes. I like a lot of different forms. This was from July 24th. It was a Wednesday. We do poetry. We get a prompt every Wednesday morning from the moderator, and then there's a whole bunch of us, 20, 30, 40, and we just write and post and comment on each other's poems. And this was the title of the prompt was Night Shift. So I wrote an acrostic, NIGHTSHIFT, and I'd like to read it to all of you because I think you can relate. Even you, James, okay? Even you, James. Here we go. And I'll try to emphasize the word that starts with each of the letters. Never quite really at rest. It's the life of a creative, going, gripping, gyrating, growling, groaning, growing, highs and lows, flowing on a mental Mobius strip. The days are the nights are the days again, shifting off and on, into and out of gear, hoping for unique brilliance even once. It's a command, calling, curse, roller coaster, finding eureka, euphoria, amid frustration, fears. Thus is the life of the creative. What'd you think?
I love it.
Thank you. Megan, you got it?
Well, I'm kind of stuck on the word creative, calling a noun, a person creative. I mean, the artist, but creative is a process for me. So I kind of was stumbling with that, to be honest.
Okay, that's
Oh,
fine. Well, that's what my show is, Cool Conversations with Creatives. Now let's go to, I have to close out in just a minute, but I'll tell you that today, interestingly enough, whoever had the Johnny Cash quote, in 1950, on July 7th, Johnny Cash, at 18 years old, joined the U.S. Air Force. He enlisted for six weeks after he graduated from high school. He served as a Morse code intercept operator and rose to the rank of staff sergeant before being honorably discharged in 1954 and launching his music career. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. And on this day in 1968, Peter, Paul, and Mary were the mystery guest on CBS's show, What's My Line? There we go. And on this day in 2002, the only copy of Bob Dylan's recording of Blowin' in the Wind sold at auction for $1.7 million. He recorded it with producer T-Bone Burnett and pressed it to a disc in a new format that Burnett created, Ionic Original, made of aluminum. That's a British word, but it played on a turntable. There you go. I've got to take us out. So let's go, and don't go away, anybody, because we have more to do. So here we go. Here are my notes. 10 years ago, I ended the show, Megan and Tracy and James, with the top 10 tips for women. And the first one was aspire to be Barbie. The biatch has everything. And that was 10 years before the movie came out. James, you can smile now. Here we go with the closing. Wait for this. Life is short. Break the rules. Forgive quickly. Never. Kiss slowly. Yes. Love truly. Laugh uncontrollably. Laugh with me for 2 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Pretty good. And never regret anything that made you smile. Final words. Work like you don't need the money. Dance like no one's watching. They watched when I taught disco. Sing like nobody's listening. Love like you've never been hurt. Money talks. Chocolate sings. La. And last but not least, I stole this line from another host years ago. Thank you for turning me on. Meghan Caughey. Thank you, dear. It's been lovely getting to know you. Tracy Latz, wonderful. James Porfido, wonderful as well. Let me find the closing music here and let's see what we've
Thank
got.
you.
And let's play this and let's go out with this song. And let me get the volume up here. Here we go. Wait a minute. Ah, Go,
You
go,
got it
go.
right.
Invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversation
There we go.
on Read My Lips
Okay.
Radio. Producer and host,
Sorry about
aka
that.
Radio Red, invites you to eavesdrop on her live, unscripted conversations with smart, savvy, creative people as she discovers what makes them tick, where they find their inspiration, when creativity first became their passion, and how their creative process can inspire the rest of us to think out of the box. Enjoy aka Radio Red's always lively, cool conversations with creatives. Oh, how those lips can talk.
Thank you to the voice of Ryan Treasure. Thank you to my engineer, Jordan Henson. Thank you to Megan. Thank you to Tracy. Thank you to James. And let's close this out.